Okay. Move all the washing out the way. Home movies. Okay. So there we go. So we're going to do our, starting on our chair, do some warm-ups, and then we will move to the 5 Tibetan rites, doing some yoga poses in between. So we always just start off settling and grounding ourselves. So just taking a moment. In fact, we set ourselves up on the chair in what we call the chair mountain pose. We're going to take our 2 fists and place them between the knees and just make sure that the knees are hip distance apart. And then hinging from the waist, we're going to even take our thumbs, press them into this little space where the leg meets the torso, and we hinge, keeping the belly in, the chest forward. We hinge forward with a straight back, a flat back, look down to the feet, and just make sure that the feet are parallel. And you've got some 90-degree angles in the ankles, the knees, and then as we hinge back up in the hips as well. So really just aligning the body to start off with. The hands we can take to the side and just roll them forward and back, palms facing forward, palms facing back. As we do this, we're bringing our shoulder blades together at the back and then just lowering the shoulders down. Keeping the back long, the belly in, the chest forward, resting our hands on the knees, making sure your chin is not lifted up or down into the chest, but just parallel to the floor, and then the crown lifting up to the ceiling. And then we can just take a moment to close our eyes. Close your eyes and really just start to focus on feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling your sitting bones on the chair. That lower part of the body really anchoring us and grounding us in this moment. And then finding a spaciousness in the upper body. Space between all the vertebrae. And a real opening of the chest area. Just noticing the breath coming in through the nose. The breath is cool as it comes in through the nose. Maybe just noticing a warmth of the breath as we breathe out. Just trying to, in this moment, let go of all the thoughts of everything leading up to this moment. Everything that's been keeping you busy this morning. And also trying to let go of the thoughts of what we're going to do later, to-do lists, emails we need to write, conversations we need to have, and really just for the next hour, try and remain as present as possible. Now, of course, our minds do naturally wander. But every time you find yourself lost in thought, just see if in that moment you could take a breath, notice the breath coming in and out, and also just tapping into how the body feels physically in that moment. While we're sitting here just grounding, we're going to do a little breath work. We're going to breathe in through the nose for the count of 4. Hold the breath for the count of 4. Breathe out for the count of 4. Hold the breath for the count of 4. And then breathe in. So it's almost like a square breathing that we're doing. And we can just keep the hands either palms down on the knees or the back of the hands on the knees. You might like to even rest your thumb and index finger gently together in Dhyana Mudra. Still keeping that length in the spine and the softening in the shoulders. I'm just going to come into that rhythm of the breath. So I'll start us off for a couple of rounds. And then we can do 3 more rounds on our own. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. So stay with that rhythm and with that breath and just coming into your own count for the next 3 rounds. And then just letting go of that counted breath and coming back to your natural breath. We're going to take our hands now and just start to rub the palms against the thighs. Still with the eyes closed, really just tapping into the sense of touch and just noticing how maybe the skin on the hand feels against the fabric of the leggings, trousers that you might be wearing. Maybe just noticing how the thighs feel with the hands rubbing against them. Any pressure created and maybe any heat that's being created. Is the texture smooth or rough? And then we're going to take the hands and start rubbing them together. Maybe notice the difference of the skin on skin. Maybe the temperature has changed again. Noticing a softness, maybe little hard bits. And just without any judgment, just an awareness, just noticing. And then taking those warm hands and just starting to rub them onto the face. Really using the palms of the hands to in a circular motion on the cheeks. And maybe taking the tips of the fingers, massaging the forehead. Just however intuitively feels good for you in this moment. Bringing them down into the temples, little circular massaging movement here in the temples. And then moving all down the jaw especially a place where we hold a lot of tension. Really getting into your jaw. And there might be some areas that feel a little tight or a little stiff. You might want to just pay a bit more attention to those. Bring a little more pressure into the massage. Coming into the chin. And then moving up to the cheekbones. And just with your index fingers, really trying to get sort of underneath the cheekbones. Just little gentle rubs back and forth underneath the cheekbones. Just massaging all those little cheek muscles. And then we come over to the ears and massaging from the top of the ears all the way down to the earlobes. Taking the fingers again and just gently tapping around the eyes. And if the eyes are still closed, you might gently open the eyes at this point, blinking them open, letting some light in. And then taking the fingers into the scalp and really massaging. Emily likes to call this our shampoo and set. So just really getting in with the tips of your fingers, massaging all those hair follicles and then resting the hands on the knees again. So we're going to just warm up each of the parts of the body, starting with the eyes, doing a few eye exercises. So keeping the head still, the crown still lifting up, the chin still parallel to the floor. We're just going to move our eyes over to the right. And take your eyes as far to the right as they'll go, keeping your head facing forward. And then look to the center. Take your eyes over to the left. Back to the center, taking the eyes down. Bring the eyes back to the center and lift them up to the sky. And then back to the center. Imagine we've got a compass in front of us now, and we're going to take our eyes south, north, east, west, east, south, north, west. Back to the center. Rub the hands together again. Really rub, 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 especially the heels of the hands. And then take those warm heels of the hands and just place them gently over the eyes, the closed eyes. And then bringing the hands back down to rest on the lap again. We're going to do a similar movement, but this time with the whole head. So we're going to look over to the right. And maybe your eyes, when your head can't go any further, your eyes might still go a little further around. So still stretching those muscles around the eyes. Going back to the center, looking over to the left. The eyes look even further. Back to the center, lower the chin to the chest. And then we're going to lift the head up, but we're not going to drop the head back. We're going to just look up to where the wall meets the ceiling. And when we get there, we're going to keep the mouth closed. We're going to jut the chin forward, and we're going to smile. And as we do this, we activate our thyroid gland. So looking up to where the wall meets the ceiling, jut the chin forward, close the mouth, and smile. And then just letting go, and maybe giving the jaw a little wiggle. Maybe opening the mouth really wide. And then closing it. Bringing the chin to the chest. And then coming back to neutral. We're going to bring the movement down the spine now. So we're going to round the spine. You might want to come a little forward on your chair here and just make sure that your legs are still activated. The way we do this, actually, if you just feel your thighs right now, while we're not doing anything, you can feel the thighs are pretty soft. If you keep your feet on the floor and lift your toes, just lift the toes and press those 3 points of the feet down into the ground. So the 3 points are the bone just behind the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Really press those 3 points down to the floor, and you can feel the thighs engaging. Then lower the toes, but still keep the thighs engaged. We're going to do that, keeping the back long to start. Hands on the knees, rounding the back, looking towards your belly button. And then inhale as we lead with the chest and we arch the back the opposite way. And again, just looking up to where the wall meets the ceiling. So never dropping the head back. So this is a bit like our sitting cat and cow. So we exhale as we round the back towards the back of the chair, look to the belly button, really curve the back as much as you can. And then inhale as we arch the back the opposite direction and looking up to where the wall meets the ceiling. One more time, exhale, rounding the back, looking to the navel. And inhaling as we come back to a neutral position. We're going to move the back side to side now. So take your hands to the side of the chair. And we're going to lower the right arm down as we fold over to that side. And try and keep your left shoulder down because we have a tendency to want to lift that. So the right arm is just sliding down the side of the chair. Let the head be heavy. Get that stretch in the side of the neck, the side of the body. And then inhale back up and exhale over to the other side, left arm. So really the weight of the arm is what's bringing us to the side. Try and keep the right shoulder down. Stretch the side of the neck, the head is heavy. And inhale, come back to the center. This time we're going to take the left arm out to the side, palm facing down halfway, and then we flip it halfway to the palm facing up. Lift the arm up next to the ear, and then again folding a little deeper over to the first side. Folding over to the right side. And then come back to the center, bring the arm down, the palm faces up till halfway, then we flip it to face down and then bring the arm down. Same thing on the other side. Okay, inhale, arm halfway, flip the palm up, inhale all the way, and fold over to the side. Get that lovely stretch on the neck, the side body, the arms, the hips. Inhale up and exhale down. A little twist for the spine now. So taking the right hand to the outside of the left knee. I mean, it doesn't really matter which way you go, but opposite hand to opposite knee. Take the back hand through the back of the chair if you can, or just behind your seat, and look over the left shoulder. And see if you can really push the side of that knee into the hand. Still keeping those legs pointing forward. Just the torso is moving and twisting. Come back to the center. And let's go the other way. So opposite hand to opposite knee, looking over the shoulder behind you. And then coming back to the front. Let's do some little circular movements. So again, just keeping the hands on the knees, and we're just going to circle, little circles, almost like we're using the spine as a wooden spoon to stir into the bowl of the pelvis. So a few one direction and then a few the other direction, just really bringing that mobility into the spine as best as you can. I quite like to arch as I go back and then lead with the chest as I come forward. All right, I'm just coming into stillness there. So either we do acupuncture with the hands, acupressure points with the hands, or we do our knees. I think today we'll do hands, and we'll just do a little gentle kind of knee action. So we bring the hands, we take the outside of the hands, and we're going to tap the hands together 36 times, making sure that we're moving both hands, not just one is tapping the other, we're moving them both together. So 36 times the outside of the hands, let's go. Then we move to the heels of the hands, 36 times, tapping. Then we're going to do the tips of the fingers. That one's quite a good one for dexterity, fine motor skills. Of course, these are all great for if you have any arthritis in the fingers and the hands, and all those acupressure points that end in the hands, nerve endings in the hands are really good for stimulating all of those. We didn't do the bases of the thumbs. There we go. So not the thumbs, but the bases of the thumbs. We're just going to tap again 36 times. And then we come to what we call the hoku points. So basically between the thumb and the index finger, these points that are quite good if you've got any pain, headache pains. Often we massage those points, but we're just going to tap them, those webs between the thumb and the index finger 36 times. And if you keep the arms out to the side as we're tapping, we're also really bringing strength into the arms, the upper body, the shoulders. Let's flip the fingers and do the other way. And then we do the webs of the fingers. So interlacing the fingers in 36 times. Then we slide the fingers away and we change the interlace. So we maybe take the fingers one up or one down, slide them back in. So it feels a bit strange. Sometimes it almost feels even like it isn't your hand in there, but it is. So let's go again, 36 times. And then we lay the palm to face up. We take the other hand into a fist. So if you've got any big rings on or anything, either turn them in or take them off. So we're going to punch that hand 36 times. And then we do the other hand. Okay, so we're really just bringing a lot of oxygen to the hands, really getting the circulation going in the hands. Let's take the back of the hands together, back of the hands, and tapping. Slide them away, flip them over, and let's do the other side. And now the hands should really probably, well, have a look at your hands, your unique hands, and just take a moment to appreciate these hands and everything they do for us. You may even see all the blood has come to the hands. They may be a little bit red. And we're just going to rub those hands together, these hands that are now full of all this life force, this prana. And we're going to take the hands to a part of the body that might need a little attention in this moment. So if there was a part of the body that felt a bit stiff this morning, or a part of the body that's been challenging you in any way, whether it's knees, might be heartbreak, might be a sore throat, it might be stiff shoulders, a sore belly. So just take those hands and place them on that area now. We're just feeling a soothing from those warm hands onto whichever part of your body needs a little more attention in this moment. Maybe take a couple of deep breaths here, breathing in deeply, exhaling completely. Okay, so we will bring a bit of movement into the knees before we stand up. So let's just take the right knee in towards the chest. As we do this, we really start to massage that ascending colon. So really bring it in. You might even want to bring your arms around it, really give it a hug. Squeeze it into the chest as much as you can. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then taking your hands underneath your thigh, extend the foot forward. And we're going to point and flex the foot just to get a bit of movement into the hamstrings, pointing and flexing. Little twirls of the feet, 3 in one direction, 3 in the other direction. And then we're just going to, for the knees, we're just going to pump the foot back and forth, just sort of kicking that foot back and forth, that whole lower part of the leg. And one more squeeze into the chest, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then placing that foot down on the floor, slide the foot slightly away from you, hinge from the waist with that flat back again, and then just rubbing the side of the foot. So we'll just give it a little bit, the side of the knee even, just giving it a little bit of a rub, 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 really get the friction working there. And then bring it back to where it was. So our feet are parallel again, back in that sitting mountain pose. Bring the left knee in, squeezing it. So now we're massaging that descending colon, part of the digestive system. Really squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Hug the knee if you want to. Hug, hug, hug. You can even kiss the knee if you want to. Squeeze it. All right. Taking the hands underneath the thigh. Extend the foot forward. And again, just pointing and flexing. Pointing and flexing. Twirls, 3 twirls one way, 3 twirls the other way. Squeeze the knee into the chest again, one more time. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. See if you can bring it a little closer this time. And then placing that foot down on the floor, sliding the foot away, hinging from the waist. And again, just rubbing the outside of the kneecap, the patella, rubbing, rubbing, rubbing. And then bringing those legs back together. Okay, maybe we'll just do a little quad stretch while we're here. And basically, I just do this so that I can see Larry doing his high heel feet and his little tiptoe to the side. So we're basically going to move to the side of the chair now. So up on the toes, we moved to the side of the chair. And your bum's kind of a little bit off the side of the chair. We're going to hold on to the back of the chair, hold on to the seat rather than the upper part of the chair. And we're going to slide that leg back. Slide the leg back. See? So the toes are tucked under, the knees just sort of hovering off the floor. Try and keep that alignment in the back. And your front foot, as you can see, mine's not in the right position. I'm going to move that foot forward. So again, I've got that 90-degree angle underneath the knee, underneath on the ankle. And even here, we're starting to feel that stretch in the quad. And this might be enough for you. If you feel you'd like a little bit more, you can take that right hand or whichever side you're on into the foot. What? Foot into the hand even. And bring that heel towards your bum. Really squeezing it in. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then if you like, while we're here, we could do the dancer pose. So the sitting dancer pose, we're going to take our opposite arm forward, pushing the foot into the hand, leaning forward. So really just trying to sort of find your balance here on the chair. And then coming back, letting go of the foot. And then we move to the other side. Tiptoe, 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 over to the other side, little hamsters. And again, just positioning yourself so you're sitting slightly off the chair. We slide that foot back, knee hovering off the floor, toes tucked under. Just sort of take a moment to align yourself so you're feeling comfortable on the chair, not going to fall off. I like to take this hand, backhand, through the gap between the chair and just hold on to the seat. And maybe this again is enough of a stretch for you. Just check that front foot, get your parallel, you know, that lower leg is really perpendicular to the floor. And then maybe taking the foot into the hand, intensifying the stretch on the quad, front of the thigh. And there's two ways to stretch. You can either lead the body slightly back, or we can come forward as we do in our dancer pose, really pushing the foot into the hand. And maybe you're taking your opposite arm away in front of you, coming into that chair dancer pose. Got to sort of find the balance in your body here. And then gracefully making your way out. And coming back to the front. And we can come off the chairs at this moment. But maybe keep your chair nearby. We're going to come into a couple of balancing poses. If you need to hold on to the chair, that's totally fine. And we're going to try and look forward. Well, do look forward and find yourself a focal point. Find a little speck on the wall or on the floor that isn't moving, and really just keep your focus on that. We're going to take our hands onto our hips, and we'll just come into our tree pose to start. So opposite foot leaning against the opposite leg, one foot leaning against the opposite leg. Just keep your toes on the floor to start. And if you feel balanced, feeling strong in the body, then maybe you like to slide the foot up to just below the knee. So we never have the foot on the knee, always just below. And remember, holding onto the chair if you need to. Maybe you'll like to go into another form of this where you bring the foot up into the thigh. So these are all just little positions you can play with. And remember, you can have your hands wherever feels better for you too. You might prefer them out to the side. You might prefer them in front of the heart. Just fingers really, hands really pressed together. This can actually help you with your balance too. Really pressing the hands together. Amazing. Balancing. Wow. And then coming down. Goodness, Larry. That's like the best tree ever.
Well, that's my good side. So
Okay.
the challenging side comes next.
Right. Well, that was an excellent one. Okay, so same stages again, you know, and remember, just honoring both of the sides of our bodies are different. So, you know, maybe on this side, the foot stays on the floor, and that's absolutely fine. Just listening to the body. Again, maybe just playing where you have your hands. You might even like to take them above the head, elbows out, hands together. Maybe you're sliding that foot up. Try and keep the knee, you know, the hips really open here, so the knee out to the side. If you're feeling adventurous on this side, maybe, oh, and there I'm wobbling. Coming up into the thigh, and you know, maybe always just try the position, and if it's not for you, then just come back to the one before. Don't forget to breathe. And this one's really just helping us with our focus and concentration, quietening of the mind, and of course really strengthening the core muscles too to hold us in these positions. And let's slowly come down. All right, so we're going to move into our first Tibetan now. So really, if we can, just move the chairs and any obstacles out of your way so that we can spin. Now, we work up to sets of 21 with the Tibetans. We repeat these 5 movements 21 times. But when you start, I mean, we started on 7, then we went to 10, then we built ourselves up. So if you feel after 7 that's enough for you today, just stop there. You don't need to do 21 all on the first day. So just listening to the body and only doing what feels, you know, good for you in this moment, and then slowly building up. So we basically bring our arms out to the side with the palms facing down, and we're going to be spinning. We're going to be spinning in a clockwise direction. And when you come out of your spin, because you might end before 21, the first thing you're going to do is just take your focus to the tip of your thumb. Just standing in mountain pose, take your focus to the tips of your thumb and find your breath, maybe breathing in for 5 and out for 5. And that'll just help you feel less dizzy, because we all felt super dizzy in the beginning. We were literally wobbling all over the place. So here we go. Arms out to the side, inhaling for 1 and exhaling for 1. Let's go. So when you're done, just taking a look at the tip of your finger, finding your breath. That one's good to get all the chakras rotating and vortexing healthily, removing blockages. Okay. So when we've got the focus back, we're going to make a transition down to the floor now. So there's a couple of ways to do that. You could either bring your chin into your chest and roll yourself down, or if you have any lower back problems or any back problems, we lift the arms up to the sky, we swallow dive forward with a flat back, come halfway with a flat back, and then maybe take your hands onto your shins. Maybe you take your hands down to the floor, bend your knees as much as you need to. And in this forward bend, we can play a little bit with alternating between stretching the hamstrings by having your legs less bent,
Really think of tipping your tail, your sitting bones up towards the ceiling. Good stretch in the legs.
But then if you want to get the stretch in your back, bend the knees, really bend the knees and bring the belly towards the thighs. Maybe taking hold of your opposite elbows in each hand. And give the back a good old stretch. You might want to give the head a little shake. Yes, yes, no, no. Just let the head be heavy and the neck be long. And then from here, bending the knees and coming into a squat. If you've got really challenged knees, then just maybe come down onto the knees or into a sitting. The squat, you can either be up on your toes, the heels are lifted, or with the feet wider apart, the feet flat down on the floor and the knees out to the side. You might bring your hands together, use the elbows to push the knees open a little further. And then from here, we're going to make our way down to the floor. And from our sitting pose, we're going to start to roll back. I'm going to open a little bit more light in. Okay, so we're sitting. I like to imagine I've got a little invisible rope here and really move the vertebra down to the floor one by one. Try and isolate those vertebrae slowly, slowly, using the core strength in the belly, lowering ourselves down, and then just release totally when you're down there. Let your feet flop out to the side, back of the hands on the floor, palms facing up. And just take a moment to settle the body here as we move from that standing poses onto these supine poses, poses on our back. Sliding the heels towards your sitting bones, knees pointing up to the ceiling. You're going to bring those knees right into the thigh and give yourself a hug. So make yourself into a little ball, give yourself a hug, and let's just gently rock from side to side. Massaging the back against the floor, really easing out any stiffness in the back. This is one of my favorite things to do. And then just notice which part of the back is getting massaged as we do this, knees into chest. And then take your hands onto the knees, push the knees away from you. So we've got a longer arm. The arms are long, the hands are resting on the knees. And again, we're going to rock from side to side. And just notice here, we really get into the lower back, into that sacral part of the spine. All the muscles around the pelvis. Then we're going to come into our happy baby pose. So bringing your elbows towards your armpits, take the arms onto the inside of the legs, and then either hold the inside of the feet or the outside of the feet. Try and keep your sacrum down, so the lower part of the back, really try and keep down towards the floor. The shoulders, the head are on the floor. The feet are sort of parallel to the floor, like we're standing on the ceiling. Knees are bent. Knees are really back towards the armpits. And you can either just stay in the static happy baby, or you might, again, enjoy a little gentle rock from side to side. Always just honoring and listening to your body in each movement we do. Stomach gurgling going on there. That's good. That means I'm in parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest mode. So I'm obviously feeling very calm and peaceful in this moment. All right, from here, let's place the feet down on the floor. Knees are pointing up to the ceiling. Might like to bring your arms into T-bar arms. So arms coming out from the shoulders in that T-bar shape. If you've got any, like me, a cupboard in the way, I'm going to come into what we call cactus arms, where we bend at the elbows and take the arms back behind us, back of the hands resting on the floor, palms facing up to the sky.
but the upper arms are still coming out in the same shape from the shoulders. We're going to walk the feet and the legs together. The knees, the feet, the legs are together. So keeping them, almost imagine we've got glue between the legs. We're going to just allow the knees to drop over to one side. So if you're dropping over to the right, just allow that left foot to lift off the floor. So both knees, both legs stay glued together. There will be a little bit of a shift. Maybe the knees might come apart slightly. And either you can keep your head looking up to the sky, or you might look over to the opposite direction. And then bringing the knees back to the center, the head back to the center. Press down into your feet. Lift your pelvis up. Give it a little wiggle. And just realign the body so we're back in that straight line. This time again, feet, knees, legs together. And let them drop over to the left. And drop over to the left. Ideally, we want to have both shoulder blades connected to the floor. And if it feels comfortable for you, taking the head over in the opposite direction to the knees. And coming back to the center again. Right, from here, we're moving into our second Tibetan, which is leg raises. So we're going to extend the legs down. Now, it's really important to protect the lower back as we do these. So we like to slide our hands right underneath the pelvis, the palms facing down. Almost the tips of your index finger and the tips of your thumb nails are kind of pressed together gently. So you've got that sort of heart shape underneath your pelvis, palms facing down, elbows slightly out to the side. And we inhale as we try and keep the legs as straight and the feet flexed if you can. We inhale as we lift the legs up, both legs, and we exhale as we bring them down. If that feels too much tension, you can always bend the knees, lift them up, bend them, and bring them down. So those are your options. Let's go. Breathing in, up, and breathing out, down. You might also like to lift the head off the floor and look towards the thighs as you lift up, and then exhale, lower everything down. If it feels too much tension on the neck, just keep the head on the floor and just move the legs. So we're moving up to 21. You do as many as feels good for you. Inhale up, exhale down. Really use the breath to move the body. Inhale up, exhale down. When you've finished your count, slide the hands away from underneath the hips, place your hands on your belly, have your feet mat distance apart, and just allow the knees to gently drop in towards each other. And find that rhythm of your breath. Find a count that works for you. So it could be in for 5, out for 5. It could be that square breathing we explored in the beginning, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. But a nice way to really slow the heartbeat down is to make sure that the exhalation is longer. So you could also do in for 4 and out for 6 or out for 8. Try not to do all of those, just pick one and do a few rounds of that as we just settle after each of these repetitions. Okay, as we did a nice quad stretch on the chair, I think we'll do a little bit of a glute stretch now, and we know that this is Larry's favorite. So we're going to come into our figure 4 with the legs. So taking the outside of the right ankle, placing it on the left thigh, just above the knee. So creating that sort of little diamond, well, little triangle shape in the thighs. We're going to keep this right foot flexed, and you might just be good there with your foot on the floor. But if you're not feeling any sort of stretch in the glute area, we're going to lift that left foot off the floor, almost like we're using that left leg as a lever. You might like to take your hands around the back of the thighs. Try and keep both feet flexed now. And then using your hands to bring as much of a stretch into this position as you like. I quite like to use my right elbow and pushing it against the right, inside of the right leg. So I'm pushing the right leg away from me, the right knee away from me, as I bring the left leg in towards my chest to really intensify that stretch. But remember, don't over intensify it. Feel the stretch, but there should be no pain. So just moving with your body and what your body needs in this moment. I also quite enjoy a little gentle roll from side to side, just a little gentle movement from side to side until I really find that sweet spot in the glute, and then maybe just stay there for a moment, taking a deep breath in and out. Every time we exhale, we can deepen a little further into the stretch. And then place those feet both back down on the floor, and let's do the other side. So now my left outside of the ankle is on the right thigh. Just aligning myself for a moment, and then lifting that right foot off the floor and using that right leg as a lever. Maybe taking hold of the back of the thigh. Some people take hold of around the shin. You can do that too, but I quite like when my hand is at the back of the thigh that I can use that left elbow as a little lever to push that left knee away from the body as I bring the right thigh in towards the body. Both feet are flexed. Breathing into the stretch. And then placing both feet down on the floor again. And either crossing at the ankles and rolling yourself back and forth up into sitting, we're going to come now, or you can bring the knees together, roll over to the side of the body and ease yourself up. We've lost a Janet. She's hiding. All right, so from here we are coming into the third movement, which is the camel. So for this one, we're going to come up onto the knees. If you have any challenges with your knees, you might like to take a blanket. My knees are quite sensitive, so I take a blanket underneath the knees just to add a little more padding. So just make sure, especially if you're on a hard floor. And for this one, we're basically a bit like the cat and cow again. We're opening and closing. So we're inhaling as we arch, and we exhale as we round. You can use the hands, the palms to face forward, and then as we face, as we sort of round the shoulders, we take the palms to face back. You can also just have your hands on the back of the thighs, and as we inhale up, you're sliding the hands down the back of the thighs, and as we exhale, we're coming into that little round forward. So find whichever one works for you, or a combination of both, and again, going up to 21 times, using the breath. Inhale back, exhale forward.
When we come back, try not to let the head just drop back. Always just thinking of sort of having that control of the neck, so never just dropping the whole head back, really being aware of those upper, the atlas and the axle vertebra at the top of the spine. So if anything, it's more like opening the shoulders up and rounding forward. The lower spine bending back and forward. I've totally lost count, so when you guys stop, I'll stop. Looks like Emily's reached 21. Okay, so when you finish your movements, we're going to come into our child pose. So if you've got something under your knees, you might like to take it away. And either the knees together, rolling over the knees, belly on the thighs, head on the floor, or making a little fist with your hands for your head. Or you might feel more comfortable with your knees open, feet together, and then just allowing the body to really rest, hang down. Let the belly sink between the thighs, the forehead on the floor, and then of course you can choose whether you'd like to take your arms back beside the body or whether you like to stretch your arms forward. Whether you want an active or passive child pose in this moment. But really the point of this transition is to rest the body. So even if the arms are forward, just have the forearms down on the floor. Really resting that back, shoulders. Find your breath. Notice where your thoughts have taken you. Use that little bridge back from thought to this present moment, the breath. Breath coming in, breath going out. Slowly rolling ourselves up. We're going to do a little sitting twist here. So if you're on your heel sitting, on your knees, we're going to take the feet over to one side. We're going to take that top leg opposite, outside of the heels, the outside of the thigh. So is it a bit dark? I feel like the screen is quite dark. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So we were there. We take the feet to one side, this top leg over. Here we go. And then we're going to take the opposite arm. So my right knee is up. I'm taking the opposite arm, wrapping it around that knee, hand on the thigh. Take the right hand behind you, opposite arm, maybe pressing your little teepee fingers down into the floor and looking over that shoulder behind you. Breathing as we twist. And then we're going to de-rotate, so keep the legs where they are. We just move the torso, the upper body, and come onto the inside of the leg this time and just twisting the other way, looking over the opposite shoulder. And then taking the hands behind us, coming into our little can-can asana. We're going to swap the legs over and change sides. So we're changing sides. Yeah. So now my left leg is up. I am hugging with the opposite arm and then looking over the left shoulder. Try and make sure that your shoulders are more or less in a line, so one isn't higher than the other. And feel in your body where you feel the twist. And notice when we've come into this pose again, when we feel comfortable in a pose, does our mind take us off somewhere else? So we just moved into autopilot. Or are we really feeling exactly what's going on? Those sitting bones connected down to the floor. And then de-rotate again. So just keep the legs where they are, but move the body, the torso, in the opposite direction. So moving now, looking over the other shoulder. And then bringing our legs out in front of us. Bringing our legs out, we come into this L sitting shape. And at this point, I don't know if you have any sort of blocks like this or books. If you have two quite thick books that you could use, we have them on the side of the body. They help us with the lift. Books, boxes, something that's going to kind of hold the weight of the body. Perfect. Okay, and they're more or less the same thickness. Okay, good. All right, so we basically have them on the side of our hips, and we're going to come into tabletops. You don't need to have the books, but it actually quite helps with the lift when we're coming back and forth. So we make sure, yeah. We press onto the blocks or the bricks or the books, and we lift up into tabletop. You can either look along the knees or you can look up to the sky. Try not to let the head drop back, so the back of the head is in alignment with the spine. And then as we exhale, we swing those hips back to where they started. So we inhale as we lift, and we exhale as we lower. 21 times, or 7, or however many feels good. Inhale up, exhale down. Let's go. And really squeeze the glutes when you're up there. Squeeze. Anytime you get tired, just resting in your butterfly pose. So soles of your feet together. Again, I've lost my count, but just taking a moment. Soles of the feet together. We just start with a nice long back, maybe holding onto the lower part of the shins. Find your breath. That one obviously really gets the heartbeat going, the cardiovascular system moving. I mean, it's moving all the time, but that really gets the circulation going. So just regulating that breath again, maybe with a slightly longer exhalation. And then you might like to just come into more of a sort of restorative yin version of this pose by just rounding the back and allowing the head to drop down towards the feet. Maybe resting your lower arms on your shins. Just calming forward bend. And if you have persistent thoughts in the head, maybe just in this moment, visualizing all those thoughts pouring out of the top of the head, pouring out the head into the ground. The ground can hold these thoughts for us until maybe after the session. And really just again tapping in with how the body feels. How does the stretch feel in this moment? Noticing these really opening hip flexors, gentle groin stretch, maybe not so gentle. And maybe on each exhalation, we just round a little or lower a little more.
rolling ourselves up again.
We're going to now transition over into all fours, preparing for the fifth Tibetan. So at this point, you might want to actually take your socks off if you've got socks on. We're going to come over into all fours. So when we're in all fours, really plug those fingers down into the floor. Make sure that the wrists are coming down from the shoulders. The knees are coming down from the hips. And the back is just neutral to start. Back of the feet just resting down on the floor. A shoulder distance between the hands and a hip distance between the knees. So just creating that little box shape with the body. Then we're going to inhale. And as we exhale, let's round the spine up towards the sky. And really, again, just let the head be heavy and the neck be long. Rounding that back up into our cat pose. And then initiating the next movement from the pelvis. We're going to tuck the tailbone up towards the sky. And as we do that, the back starts to dip. And the last movement comes from the neck and the head as we just look sort of ahead of the mat into our cow pose. We exhale as we round into cat. We inhale as we arch into cow. And really just think about all these movements starting from the pelvis. Rounding the pelvis, the spine follows, the neck and the head move last. So a couple of those on your own. Use the breath to move you. Then coming back into a neutral position, we're going to slide the left leg back and the right arm forward. We're going to lift the left leg, lift the right arm. Maybe just hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then rounding the back, bringing the elbow or the nose to the knee. And then inhaling as we stretch the hand and the foot away from each other. Exhaling as we round the shoulder, the nose to the knee. And then inhaling as we stretch away. And then come back into all fours. Let's do the other side. Right leg back. Left arm forward, lifting and holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As we exhale, rounding the back, nose to knee. And inhale as we stretch them away. Really stretch the fingers and toes away from each other as much as you can. Exhale, round. Squeeze. Inhale, stretch. And bringing the hands and the knees back down to the floor. We're going to do what I like to call the Ferris wheel. So we're going to round the back in our cat pose. Sink back towards your heels into a sort of child pose, the hands pressed on the floor. And then we inhale as we come forward, almost lowering the forearms down to the floor. Keep your hands on the floor, but it's almost like you're pulling the hands towards you as you pull your chest through your arms. And we dip into that cow pose. Exhale, round into cat. Lower back onto child pose. Inhale as we glide the body forward between the arms. The back is dipped the other way. Exhale, round, sink back. Inhale, pull yourself forward. All right. And then we're just going to round the hips. You might just like to do some hip circles here. Maybe 3 hip circles one way. And they can be as big or as small as you like, these circles. And then you'll go 3 the other way. So really, again, just bringing lots of movement and mobility into the spine. And then when you're done, we'll all meet in downward dog. Tucking our toes under, plugging those fingers down into the floor, lifting the hips up and looking back towards the ankles, towards your shins, towards your knees, straightening the arms, straightening the legs.
And you might like to pedal the legs out. So bending one knee, straightening the opposite leg. Really get a good stretch in the calf. And when it feels ready to release it, then coming over onto the other side. Really get a good old stretch there. Then coming high up onto both tippy toes. And then sinking the heels back towards the floor again. So our next movement, so some of us do this on the chair and some of us do it on the floor. So I'll just quickly show you both options. If we're staying on the floor, we inhale forward either into a plank or an upward dog or even just knees, and we exhale back into downward dog. If we're doing it on the chair, we would be walking our hands back towards our feet at this point, rolling ourselves up. We place the chair somewhere where it's not going to move, so on the mat's quite good. And then you would find your downward dog on the chair. So we're really pressing the arms, the hands into the chair. Try not to let the head dip. So you're there for your downward dog, and then you'd inhale forward into a sort of upward plank. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale forward. Okay, so choose whether you're doing chair or floor. And set yourself up. Okay, so Janet's on the chair. Right, so let's go. Again, moving up to 21, but just doing what feels available to you today in this moment. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Really use the breath to move. Let's go. Be in the body. Notice the body. Try not to be on autopilot. Count with the breath. And move as slowly or as fast as feels good for you. And when you've reached your count, you'll rest in a wide-legged child pose. So you'll have your knees wide apart, your toes together, and just resting in that forward bend. Okay, so those knees are wide apart, the toes together. Really just allow the body to settle there. Find your breath, a nice long exhalation. You can feel that one as well. It's very stimulating, energizing. So just resting the body in this moment. Just surrendering to this relaxation. Really feel supported and held by the ground. Let go. Letting go. Nice deep breaths. Really feel the belly expand and those back ribs expand as we inhale. And then exhale. You might even like to just breathe out through the mouth. Just squeezing all that old stale air out of the body. One more deep breath in. Full breath out. While we're down here, we'll just get another little side stretch to the rib cage, all those intercostal muscles. So we're going to come up onto our little TP fingers. So onto your tips of your fingers, lifting the forehead off the floor. Walk your hands over to the left. We call these our fling hands for the Addams family rememberers. So take your fling hands over to the left. And really sink that right hip down into the heels. And then coming over to the middle. And walking. Fling hand over to the right. Sink that left hip down. Come back to the center and walk your hands back towards yourself as you roll your back up again. And then we've added a sixth Tibetan in. So there's a combination. We do basically 3 rounds of 10 movements. And this is really for the arms and the chest area, the cardiac muscle, the shoulders. So you can choose whether you're doing push-ups, and you can do girly push-ups. That's probably a bit sexist, but you can do your push-ups on your knees, where we're just literally coming down and up, inhaling down, exhaling up. You might like to do the full whack like our friend Larry does over there. So he would be doing, having his knees much further back and doing his push-ups there. You might like to do your push-ups against a wall or a cupboard, feet together, bringing that movement in. You might also like to do tricep dips. So this is quite good to have if you've got a window ledge or a tabletop or a surface or something, where you have your back of your hands on the chair, and then you're basically, it's not probably very pretty, but you coming down and up, down and up. So working the triceps. The push-ups are working the biceps and the triceps. And then another one is just to sit with the legs crossed and come into what we call our Ganesha mudra, where you have the back of the left hand facing to the heart. You interlace the fingers, the right hand's facing forward. We inhale, and as we exhale, we pull the hands away. Inhale, pull the hands away, and you do 8 of those. Okay, so 3 rounds, and you can choose, you can mix them up. You might do 1 round of 10 push-ups, 1 round of 10 tricep dips, 1 round of Ganesh, or you might do 3 rounds of Ganesh, or 3 push-ups, or 3 triceps. Sets of 10, okay? Yogi's choice as to which you do. So I'm going to do 10 push-ups, 10 tricep dips, and then the Ganesh breath. And after each set, just take a moment to round the shoulders, to release the wrists, maybe little circular movements, arm swings, a couple of sets of breath. Now I'm going to move into my triceps.
And just notice the different temperatures in your body when you do this. Noticing the heat building when we're moving into the more active poses. And then the body cools as we move into the more restorative. And this Ganesh mudra is really good for strengthening arms, cardiac muscle, chest area, shoulders. Good for heartache, heartbreak, warming to the heart. Okay, so just coming into a comfortable sitting position now, a meditative position. So you might have your legs crossed, might be an easy sitting pose. You might choose to come into a half lotus. You might choose to have something underneath you. I always quite like to sit on a little blanket or a little cushion just to elevate the pelvis slightly. And we're going to take the hands onto either the knees or into the lap, into a meditative position. And we finish off with 3 rounds of the Brahmari breath, the humming breath. We breathe in through the nose, and for as long as your exhalation lasts, we hum. So breathing in and humming to the exhalation, and really squeeze the air out. So take that hum for as long as you can. And then what follows is a good deep breath in where we can really expand the muscles, the lungs to full capacity. So you can close your eyes for this one. Breathing in deeply. And when you're done, just sitting and being in the stillness. That Brahmari breath they're really using a lot with post-COVID patients. Really good way to keep the lungs healthy, to prevent lung damage during COVID. So really a good one to practice every day. Just really noticing, maybe just becoming aware of how your body, your breath, and your thoughts are in this moment. That lower part of the body again, just anchoring us, grounding us. And lengthening the spine, softening the shoulders, and just finding that spaciousness again in the upper body. Just sit for a moment and allow all the benefits from this practice to percolate through or to marinate us in this moment. The twists and forward bends and spirals. The 5 Tibetans known as the fountain of youth. Designed in a way to really move the spine in all directions, get the chakras moving, spiraling healthily. Really encouraging breath, movement in legs, arms, core strength, the whole of the body being strengthened, maintaining flexibility and focus. So we inhale as we take the arms out to the side of the body. As we raise them up to the sky, imagine you're gathering all the potential and possibility that this brand new day is bringing you. Bringing the hands together above the head, and then sliding the hands down past the crown, past the third eye, past the throat chakra, our communication center, and to rest in front of the heart, Anahata, this place of love and compassion. And with this love and compassion, we bow to ourselves. We bow to ourselves for carving out this time in our day, on the weekend, to dedicate to our bodies, our minds, spirits. And maybe just in this moment, think of 3 things. It's always hard to keep it to 3, but 3 things that you feel truly grateful for in this moment. And then with that thought of gratitude and the feeling that that brings us, let's bow our heads again to loved ones, to family, to friends, to teachers, guides, to strangers, to everybody on the planet, to the planet herself, the earth. All creatures, great and small. And then finally to each other for practicing yoga together with today. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And now I'd love you to all unmute yourselves because that was very quiet.